Welcome back to Dig Up the Roots, financially speaking. In this space, we are not just talking about money, but we're talking about what's underneath it. Today, we are digging into financial emotional ties because many of our habits are not just logical problems, they're emotional connections that we've been carrying for years. If you have ever said, I know better, but I still do it. This conversation is for you. Emotional ties are the emotional connections that we attach to money, savings, spending, debt. Money becomes more than currency. It becomes comfort, control, validation. It becomes our safety place, or sometimes even survival. Money starts responding like emotions like fear, rejection, guilt, shame, pride. You can catch that in our last episode. Loneliness. This is when money stops becoming a tool because that's what money is. It is a tool, but it starts becoming a coping mechanism. It doesn't start out that way, but then you begin to learn, and that's how you respond to it. Emotional ties are often formed during our early years or during emotional charged seasons. And I'm sure probably all of us have had some emotionally charged seasons. It could be growing up in lack, and we don't want to go back there again. And so our mind is thinking every time we spend something that's a place where we are, that's a place where we're going. We're gonna hoard stuff because we want to make sure we don't go back to that place where we were a child and we dealt with inconsistency, and we were perhaps moving around all the time because we couldn't keep up with the rent, and we're not going to do that now. So we're going to make sure we stay in that place of on top of things, which is good, but to a point where it just starts to dwindle into other things, and it creates fear in your system. Or perhaps you watch your parents grow up and they were, always arguing or stressed about when it came to money issues, and you as a child, you saw that. Or we can't afford that when you ask for something as a child. No, it's always that was the answer. We can't afford that. Well, for some, is using money as a reward. And you might have got rewarded because you got A's, but your other siblings, because they didn't get A's, they didn't get rewarded. And now there's a whole mess in the middle of your family because of how the reward issue went in your family. And a lot of us experience rejection through loss, and it can be loss of a job, loss of relationship. It can be loss even when it comes to divorce or trauma, and that affects how we spend. Or there's sometimes that we want to prove that we're worth something, that money makes us in a certain position where now we feel that we're worthy. Now, some of these things, again, it started when you were a child, and now you use money because guess what? Spending is going to make you feel better. That's your conclusion. Or you avoid looking at your bank account because, man, you remember those days when you were in the red, you had those overdrafts, and now you're out of that place, but you're still fearing. So I'm not going to even look. I'm not going to even address anything. I'm just going to let everything just fall to the side. And sometimes we hold on to money so tight because if you don't, you feel like you're going to lose control. And I remember one time I was actually at that point. I was holding on. I wasn't buying things for myself, and I had the money, or going out, taking myself out to eat, or whatever the case was, and I was just holding on. And one of my friends says, "You need to let go. Don't live in that place of fear." And I did overcome that. I did listen, and I went out and spent a little something. Or the spending makes you feel worthy. We talked about that already. Or you're underspending because You're afraid that there will not be enough. And this becomes like an emotional habit. This becomes a tie that you didn't choose on accepting this tie, but it just began to develop after some time in your life. And now you just kind of adapted to us. Let's talk about getting free from this. That's a behavior we don't want to stay in, and we need to get healed from those places. That's really the root of it, because sometimes these patterns repeat over and over and over. So you have to start with awareness. You have to really say, this is where I am, but this is not where I want to be. Don't stay in a place of shame or guilt. You need to separate who you are, your worth, from your wallet, okay? That is not who you are. You need to think that money is a tool. That's what it is. It's not measuring to your value. Guess what? You are enough. It's not about your paycheck. It's not about if you're in the debt. It's not about or a title that you have. You are enough. Remember that. And remember that you do not replace money with coping mechanisms, as in your emotions, and when you want to spend out of control. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to get therapy. Okay, we need to actually sometimes just rest where we are, rest and reassure ourselves that we are okay, and we need to create some kind of boundaries, like perhaps, yes, I'm going to spend this much, but I'm not going to hold myself back to not spending on things that I really need, that would be good for me. Sometimes the gym might be good for you to go out and blow out some extra, but you don't want to spend the price because, oh, no, 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 it's not. But that is what you just might need. Going to the gym, just lifting some weights, running on that treadmill, just to get some of that really built up things that are in you that needs to get released. Create structures that will help you. Again, we talked a little bit about that. You can, if it's in your budget to go take yourself out to dinner, then go do it. Don't hold yourself back from those things that you can do because you're tied to pain from the past. Give yourself permission to heal. That's what I would really say, because these emotional ties that are tied to the money, it didn't happen overnight, or tied to those relationships, it didn't happen overnight. And healing is one step at a time. It's something that normally it can for some people, but normally it takes some time. So I just want to say to you today that you are a survivor, okay? That you are a overcomer, that you have a future. Take time and identify what roots that you have that needs to be dug up, and get some healing with it. Remember this, you are not your past choices. You are surely not your bank balance, and you are worthy of financial peace. If you like this episode, please like, comment, and share, and we will be back next episode.